Considered by many to be the most powerful knight in Athena's army, the guardian of the sixth temple of the sanctuary is, without a doubt, one of the most popular characters among Saint Seiya fans. And that is why the one also called closest to a god is the protagonist of this new Curiosities video. 1. Although many claim that Shaka is the reincarnation of Buddha, this is a misunderstanding, since in Buddhism, the religion that Shaka practices, Buddha is actually a state of consciousness. Therefore, it is not that Shaka is Buddha by reincarnation, but that he has become a Buddha because he has achieved enlightenment by fully awakening as an individual. 2. Among the 12 Golden Saints, Shaka is the only one who maintains his original appearance from the manga for his anime version, presenting no differences in his armor and physical appearance. 3. The object he wears on his forehead is called bindi, which means drop or point. This has a religious connotation that involves the third eye and wisdom, which harmonizes with the ability of the Knight of Virgo to know the truth hidden in appearances. 4. In relation to this capacity, it is worth highlighting that, despite having this ability, in the manga he wasn't able to fully perceive the evil in Saga, contrary to the anime where it's clear that he is aware of his dual personality, and the use of the somewhat questionable methods used by, at that time, the Pope of the Sanctuary. 5. The nickname given to him as the man closest to a god does not in any way refer to him having powers similar to the gods, like Poseidon, Hades or Zeus. It's rather a way of pointing out his great mastery of the cosmos that goes beyond what an ordinary saint of Athena can aspire to achieve, and above all, to the state of enlightenment and transcendence that he has achieved due to the disciplines that he practices. 6. In the words of Virgo Shijima, Shaka's predecessor, this Golden Knight should be considered the most powerful Virgo saint in history. 7. Shaka's serenity and temper are evident throughout all of his appearance in the series, even in the moments of greatest tension. The only time he was seen to lose his cool was when he failed to destroy the Wailing Wall alone during the Hades Saga. 8. Although many of us were excited to see how Shaka evaded the attacks of Camus and Shura, also during the Hades Saga, the truth is that in the manga it was not so easy for him, because although he was able to dodge Shura's attacks, he was not able to prevent Camus from freezing his leg. 9. In Masami Kurumada's original story, which needless to say is the one we see in the manga, Shaka is the first Golden Knight to appear wearing his golden armor as such, making his debut in part 19 of the most current compilation of the manga, the final edition, titled Memories of the Island of Death. 10. In the manga, many of the Golden Knights are blonde, but in their anime version, their hair color changes. The only exception to this is Shaka, who keeps it in that tone in both versions. However, in the CGI film Legend of Sanctuary, we find a red-haired Shaka, which perhaps could have been a nod to his predecessor in Next Dimension, Virgo Shijima. 11. The name Shaka is derived from the Sanskrit Shakyamuni, which means the sage or leader of the Sakya, a title given to Siddhartha Gautama, who is recognized as one of the most prominent Buddhas. However, as an extra piece of information, it's worth mentioning that in Japanese, there are two ways to pronounce the word Shaka. The first is with the use of this kanji that you see here, and which is the one used in Saint Seiya, while the other is in this way, which literally translates as Buddha. Do you know in which anime a Shaka appears but that just uses this second verbalization of his name? Stay until the end of the video to find out. 12. According to the Taizen Encyclopedia, Shaka was 20 years old at the time of facing the Bronze Saints in the Battle of the 12 Temples, so he was only a 7-year-old infant when Saga's attempt to assassinate Athena occurred. 13. In the canonical story, Shaka is seen fighting in 8 confrontations, of which he is the winner in 3 of these, against Ikki on the Island of Death, against Seiya, Shiri and Shun in the Battle of the 12 Temples, and against the Spectres in the Invasion of the Sanctuary, which gives him a winning percentage of 37.5%. 14. If we now take into account all the battles he has fought in the different adaptations, sequels and spin-offs, these add up to a total of 23, resulting in winner in 9 of the fights, which results in a winning percentage of 39.13%. 15. If we omit Libra Doko, Shaka is, along with Aries Mu, the shortest Golden Saint, reaching a height of 1.82 meters. Curiously, the 3 characters are respectively originally from China, India, and Jameer. the latter being a region located between both countries. 16. Shaka was only 6 years old when he understood one of Buddha's greatest teachings, the fact that death is not the end of life, or the so-called Arayashiki, which would allow him to access the domains of Hades alive. Of course, although he knew of the existence of this condition, he was not able to understand it 100%, and of course achieve it until 14 years later. As an extra piece of information, it's worth mentioning that once he knew how to achieve it, he transmitted it to Athena and by extension to his companions, which allowed characters like Doko, Aioria, Seiya and company to know how to execute it. In other words, Shaka showed them the path to follow, and it was just a matter of not getting lost along the way. 17. The word Arayashiki literally means the abode of consciousness, or the abode of the senses. In Buddhism, it's required to go through a path of 8 stages to reach this state, and that is the reason why Masami Kurumada associated it with an 8th sense within the Saint Seiya universe. 18. In the anime series, when Shaka faces Leo Aioria in the Pope's room, both are thrown in the air when their blows collide. After this, Saga mentally controls Aioria when he stands up, but Shaka does not appear on the scene and of course, he is not aware of the attack against Aioria. The only reason for this to happen would be for Shaka to remain unconscious, or at least dazed, while this last thing happened. Otherwise, if he had been conscious and clearly saw the attack, it would indicate that he agreed with the Pope's actions. Curiously, in the CGI remake, that is precisely what happened during said scene. Saga intervenes in the fight and controls Aioria, while Shaka realizes absolutely everything that is happening. 19. Shaka's date of birth is September 19th. He is originally from India and it was right there on the banks of the Ganges River where he carried out most of his training. As an extra piece of information, in the spin-off manga Rise of Poseidon, we are told that during his stay in that country he met none other than Krishna, who years later would become the Marine General of Kisaur. 20. Shaka's death under the Twin Salts is an allusion to the story that Buddha died in the shadow of those same trees, achieving enlightenment. At the same time, after dying under these, Shaka manages to reach the 8th sense. 21. During the Poseidon Saga, the surviving Golden Saints argue over whether they should help the Bronze Knights in battle or not. Curiously, although Shaka is present in each of these scenes, he is the only one who did not have a single dialogue in them. 22. Shaka is one of the 2 Golden Knights who is capable of wielding both the technique of teleportation and levitation, without the use of psychokinesis, as is the case of Aries Mu. And if you're wondering, the other Golden Knight who has both abilities is Deathmask Cancer. And up to this point, 22 Curiosities of Virgo Shaka. Which character would you like me to make the next video about? Leave your opinion in the comments box below. But before finishing, here is the information that was left to mention. In the anime Shumatsu no Valkyrie, there is a character called Shaka, whose name is written with the other kanji that I mentioned before, and whose Japanese translation is Buddah. I'm Cal, and I'll see you next time here on Star Hill, your Saint Seiya, an anime channel.